Here at Sunny Productions, animals are of utmost importance. Due to the loving and comforting nature of man's best friend, most people love animals more than they love other people. That's what makes this story right here hit home even harder. Animal cruelty is very real and their stories need to be told. This is Buddy. Buddy was a 12-year-old, 15-pound, mini Australian shepherd that was rescued from a puppy mill, and lived for the last 5 years with his owners, Pam and Jim Colbert, on their peaceful 10-acre property in Moscow, Idaho. On October 21, 2022, Jim let Buddy outside to use the bathroom around 2 or 2:30 in the morning. Jim sat and waited by the door for Buddy but then decided to go back to bed, leaving the door open as they usually did, so that Buddy could come back inside. Later, around 5:30 that morning, Jim noticed that Buddy had not returned, so he began looking for him outside the house. When Jim's wife Pam woke up, he told her that Buddy was missing. She then called her friend Margaret to see if Buddy was over at her house, but there was no luck. Pam and Jim then had to go to an appointment, but their neighbors continued to search while they were gone. While searching the area for Buddy, one of the Colberts' neighbors found Buddy on the Colberts' property. They called Pam to inform her and Jim that unfortunately, Buddy was found deceased. When Jim and Pam returned home, they called their other neighbors to let them know that Buddy had been killed the night before and possibly by a coyote, and for everyone to watch their animals. The Colberts then called the Latah County Sheriff's Department, and the law enforcement officers came out to their house and stated that they believe Buddy had been killed by a person, not by another animal.
The sheriff's deputies came up, and he said, I just don't know. He said, this doesn't look like it was an animal that attacked it. So he called his supervisor. Supervisor came. Supervisor said, this wasn't done by an animal. Your dog's been skinned with a knife. And what they did, they cut right around here. They skinned down, they left his little legs, they left his face, and so he was skinned like you would a deer.
Buddy's collar was found at the crime scene, about 6 feet from him, but unfortunately, law enforcement did not test Buddy's collar for fingerprints.
The next day, a friend of ours he's a sheriff's deputy, and he came up and he talked to us and he said, we really take this seriously, this kind of thing very seriously.
Absolutely.
And he says, we're getting the police, the city police involved, and, they're going to be watching and seeing what they can find. But that was about it. They really never came in to the one sheriff's deputy who did go down and looked at the crime scene, because there was a crime scene down there, and it was in the field, and 6 feet away was Buddy's collar, but the pelt was never found.
Pam states that their neighbors' 4 dogs were all barking a lot around 3 a.m. and wanted to be let out. Another neighbor got up that morning and said his dog had torn his bed all to shreds.
The people next door, they have 4 dogs and chickens and goats, and she said that I don't know, Jimmy let Bud out around 2:30. She said around 3 o'clock, her 4 dogs were all barking, and they just wanted out of the house. They wanted out, and so she opened the door, and they tore out and bark, bark, bark. And then the neighbor on this side, he's got a huge Great Pyrenees, whatever you call them anyway, big dog, sweet Max. And when they got up in the morning, Max's bed was torn to shreds. Just torn to shreds. Wow. They say animals have some kind of, I don't know, something about instinct, what they hear, I don't know. I don't even want to go there to think that Bud cried out, that's too hard. But anyway, that dog too, and all of the other neighbors, they were just all in shock.
About 2 weeks prior, the Colberts were coming home from dinner. As Jim got out to get their mail, he saw a rabbit. The back of its head had been sliced off, and was open to the brain, as well as its ears had been cut off.
Somebody had cut his ears off.
Or the whole top of his head.
The whole top. It was kind of a V thing, like you take antlers off a deer.
Jim also said that Buddy had barked that morning before taking off running instead of just walking out, as usual, and that he did not bark while outside but is also a very loving dog to everyone.
I couldn't resist Buddy, and they fell in love, and they were together. If Bud wasn't in the truck with him, he was on the chair with him, always.
Pam, Jim, and Buddy have not received any form of justice for this terrible crime. I pray that there is still a chance his killer will be found. If you have any ideas or tips on who could have done this to poor little Buddy, please speak out to law enforcement. What do you think of Buddy's bizarre and suspicious killing? Do you think it was done by someone just for fun, or something more sinister? Like perhaps a form of prep for something else? Buddy was killed 3 weeks and 2 days before the November 13 murders of the 4 Idaho college students and apparently only a few miles from their home, at 1122 King Road. Law enforcement said they believe there was no connection between Buddy's death and the Idaho 4 killings, but I'm just not so sure. The killer could be the same person, and could have used the same weapon. God bless you, Jim and Pam. I'm sure you are still going through such a tough time, and love and miss your sweet little guy so much. Rest in peace, Buddy.